Okay, I will do maybe 1 or 2 more chapters. This is quite a short chapter. The chapter is talking about you in Korean. Excuse me. So in Korean, there are lots of different ways to say you. In English, we use this word pretty much all the time. It's very commonly used, but in Korean, it's not. And it's a common question people might ask when they're learning Korean is, how do I say the word you? And the answer, unfortunately, is not so easy. Do we have topic 2 books? No, we do not. Let's look at some options of some ways that you can say you in Korean. So, number 1, are the following options generally acceptable to use in place of the word you in English? Number 1, their name plus she. So this she is a kind of formal ending, kind of like adding Mr. or Miss to someone's name. And yes, you can say this to someone instead of you if you know their name. You know, if someone's name is Yujin, you can call them Yujin Shi, and that's a polite way to say you. Number 2, a Korean title like Nuna or Oppa, etc. So Korean has a lot of these title words. Nuna and Oppa, you've probably heard them in Korean dramas, and it's a title that's used to refer to someone who maybe you don't know their name, or even just very commonly used to use this title instead of their name. And it's all to do with, there's lots of different titles depending on different sort of stages in society, different ages. But yes, you can use these to say you in Korean, and that's a very common, very natural way to say it. For example, Nuna is used, it literally means big sister, but it's used when you are female and you identify as female and you are talking to an older female, you can call her Nuna. If you are male, if you identify male and you're talking to an older woman, you call her Nuna. And Oppa is if you identify female and you're talking to an older male, you can call them Oppa. So literally big sister, big brother, but there's lots of other words like that as well. Will this live be uploaded to YouTube later? Yes, it will be. I'll probably upload it soonish, maybe possibly Monday. Okay, number 3 is the option of dropping you from the sentence entirely. Can you do this in Korean? The answer is yes. All this talk about, how do you call someone you, or how do you say you in Korean? A very simple answer is you can just not do it at all. You can just drop you from the sentence in Korean entirely, and that's perfectly natural. In fact, I recommend that probably as a good go-to option, is you do not even need to say you at all. If you are talking to someone and you ask them a question, they can infer, right, that you're asking them, do you do something? Do you like something? So this is a perfectly good and natural way to say you, is just to drop it from the sentence entirely. And this last one, 당신. So, should I get this book before the Write a Beginning Conversational book? I recommend yes. If you're still a beginner, I recommend starting with this. And once you have more skills, then use the beginner writing book. So 당신, is it a good word for you? Generally, no. Generally, no. There are some unique circumstances where 당신 can be used. It's sometimes used when doing translations from Korean into English. From English into Korean, and they need to have some statement there. But it's generally not a good word to use. It's not recommended for a couple reasons. We'll see some examples later on. But I think often, if you start learning Korean, like on Duolingo and things like that, they might teach you 당신 as a way to say you, and I do not recommend it. Essentially because it can apply a lot of aggression, and it can also imply, someone is a spouse or someone that you're in a serious relationship with. So it's not a general purpose word. Okay, multiple choice. A, you want to ask Ijun, do you study English? Which sentence is generally not recommended? So you want to ask Ijun, do you study English? Number 1, 당신 영어를 공부해요? 2, 이준 씨 영어를 공부해요? Or 3, 영어를 공부해요? So the answer here, right, is 1. This is not a polite way to ask this question. Generally not appropriate, but these two are perfectly fine. You can say 이준 씨 or 영어를, or you can just drop it from the sentence entirely. You can just not have any subject at all, and she'll still know that you're asking, do you study English? Okay. Number 2, you are talking to a male friend who is older than you. Which of the following is generally not an appropriate way to address them? So 1, 형, 2, 오빠, or 3, 당신. So this is not a trick question, very simple answer, 당신. Again, not appropriate. Now, 형 is a good way. That is if you are male. And you use 오빠 if you are female. So if you identify male, you can call him 형, and if you identify female, you can call him 오빠, but 당신 is not recommended. Okay. Number 3, C. Which sentence below translates to, do you like pizza? Do you like pizza? Number 1, 선생님, 피자를 좋아해요? Number 2, 피자를 좋아해요? Number 3, 이준 씨, 피자를 좋아해요? 4, 당신, 피자를 좋아해요? Or 5, all of the above. Which translates to, do you like pizza? Now, the answer really is all of them. You could translate any of these sentences to, do you like pizza? You could say, well, technically this means like teacher, do you like pizza? And this is Ijun, do you like pizza? But in Korean, I find a lot when I'm doing translation work that even if they've said a name or a title like this, you usually translate it to you in English. Just because it's most natural. We use you all the time in English. And generally that's the most natural translation. So really the answer is all of the above. Okay. And D, when you use 당신 to address someone, what could it imply? So if you do use 당신, right, what could it imply? 1, that you are looking for a fight with that person. 2, that they are your spouse. Or 3, either of the above, depending on context. The answer here is 3. This really is why we do not recommend using this word 당신 in Korean. Because it is not used outside of some specific situations. And if you use it, it could offend someone. It could look like, you're looking for a fight. It could sound quite aggressive. Or it could suggest, that they're your spouse, your husband or wife. So either of the above, depending on context.